Most men enter the arena with hope. They hope their hard work was enough. They hope their opponent makes a mistake. They hope the fight gods will be on their side that night. But then, there are those who do not hope. Imagine looking into the eyes of a man who does not doubt, not for a second. There is no fear, no anger, not even the cheap thrill of violence. There is only a cold, hollow certainty. It is the gaze of a surgeon preparing for a routine procedure. Except the procedure is you. The world of MMA has seen many champions. It has seen loudmouthed kings, technical geniuses, and brutal brawlers who fell in love with the blood. But never before have we seen a force that felt so inevitable. When the cage door locked behind him, time ceased to exist. The oxygen in the arena grew heavy. Suddenly, opponents weren't fighting to win. They were fighting for a breath. They were fighting against a rising tide that was slowly, methodically, and ruthlessly pulling them to the bottom. They called him the Eagle. But he didn't fly. He hunted. 29 attempts to stop him, 29 failures, 0 defeats. But I ask you, what is the true price of perfection? What happens to the soul of a man who refuses to accept the possibility of defeat, not out of ego, but because of a promise? Is it possible to be an invincible god among mortals while keeping the heart of a simple boy from the mountains? Because those numbers, 29-0, that isn't just a statistic. That is a prison of expectations, and the key to it lies deep in the past, in a place where steel is born and where dreams are paid for in sweat and blood. Today, forget what you saw on TV. Today, we look into the darkness that created the light. This is the story of Khabib Nurmagomedov. To understand this anomaly, we must first understand the mountains. We must leave the bright lights of Las Vegas and transport ourselves to the village of Sildi in the Tsumidinsky district. A place where the clouds don't touch the sky, but the ground. A place in Dagestan where the air is hard to breathe, and life is even harder. Influencers aren't born here. Men hewn from stone are born here, because nothing soft would survive the winter. In this unforgiving environment, there were no luxury gyms with air conditioning and protein shakes. There were only basements smelling of rust and dampness, old mats soaked in the sweat of generations before you, and the absolute authority of the father. Abdulmanap Nurmagomedov, a name you will hear in this story more often than the protagonist's own. Abdulmanap wasn't just a coach. He was an architect. He was a general building an army not for war with weapons, but for dominance with bare hands. The modern world would call his methods insane, but in the Caucasus Mountains, it was a necessity. Imagine a small boy who doesn't play with toy cars. Imagine a 9-year-old child thrown into a pen with a bear cub. That famous grainy footage that circled the world isn't a cute anecdote for social media. It is the key to his psyche. Look closely. While the beast tries to bite and scratch, little Khabib doesn't back down. He falls, he gets up, and he attacks the legs. There is no fear. There is only a task that must be completed. His childhood wasn't about searching for an identity. His identity was assigned at birth. Discipline wasn't a choice. It was the currency used to pay for respect in a community where weakness meant shame for the entire family. He grew up on mats where the word can't was punished more severely than a loss. This environment didn't teach him to hate his opponents. It taught him something far more terrifying, to view them merely as obstacles, as pieces of lumber that had to be cleared from the path so he could pass. When Khabib first stepped into the world of professional MMA, it wasn't with fanfare. He was a ghost from the East. His style was an anomaly. In an era when the MMA world was falling in love with flashy spinning kicks and instant knockouts, someone arrived who returned fighting to its raw primal essence, to control, to the ground. His early years were a brutal pilgrimage through tournaments in Russia and Ukraine. 2 fight nights, injuries patched up with duct tape, minimal pay and freezing cold halls. But in his eyes, there was a hunger, not driven by a desire for Ferraris or gold watches. It was a hunger for perfection. When he first put on the papaka, that shaggy sheepskin hat that became his crown, it wasn't a marketing strategy cooked up by an agency. It was a message. I am a son of the mountains, and I am coming to take everything. When he arrived in America, at the famous American Kickboxing Academy in San Jose, no one could pronounce his last name. He didn't understand the language, he didn't understand the culture, he didn't understand the humor. But inside the cage, he spoke the universal language of violence. Coaches recall a young man who didn't know the concept of fatigue. He sparred with heavyweights, destroyed champions in practice, and then, with an innocent face, asked when the real work would begin. He wasn't there to participate in the American dream. He was there to conquer it and take it home. The peak of his career, however, wasn't defined just by victories. It was defined by contrast. It was defined by the greatest collision in the history of the sport. On one side stood he, the stoic, devout, disciplined ascetic. On the other side stood chaos, Irish whiskey, drugs, and the dangerously sharp tongue of Conor McGregor. This wasn't just a sporting match, but to understand the depth of that hatred, we must go back to the underground of the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. It was the moment that changed everything. The sound of shattering glass as a metal dolly thrown by McGregor pierced the window of the bus Khabib was sitting in. Outside, Conor raged with his pack. Inside, Khabib didn't even move. While other fighters bled from the shards, he sat with a stone face, without emotion, without fear. In that moment, sport turned into a blood feud. Conor thought this act would intimidate him. He was wrong. He only awakened a monster that knows no mercy. UFC 229 was, therefore, a culture war. Tradition versus modernity. Humility versus arrogance. Father versus son. After months of insults to his family, religion, and country, Khabib remained silent. He stockpiled the anger inside, compressing it like a spring until it became a lethal weapon. The media asked, "Is he broken? Did the Irishman get inside his head?" That night in Las Vegas, when the cage closed, the world saw the answer, and it was terrifying. Khabib didn't fight to win on points. He fought to punish. Every strike on the ground was personal. We heard him speaking to his opponent during the fight while crushing his face. "Let's talk now, let's talk now." He wasn't just breaking Conor's face, he was breaking his myth. He took his soul in front of the entire world. And then, the jump. The moment he leaped over the cage and threw himself into the crowd like a raging bull. Many condemned it as unprofessional, a stain on the sport. But for those who understood the context of the bus and the insults, it was the climax. The eagle had broken his chains. He showed that beneath the layer of the cold professional, lava was boiling. That honor is more valuable to him than a championship belt or $1 million checks. That night defined him. It displayed his genius in the cage, but also the darkness he carries within if you cross the line of no return. However, the path to Olympus was not straight and glorious. There were years, the dark years of 2014 to 2016, when it seemed the world would never see his full potential. People forget. They forget the tiramisu jokes, the mockery of fans who called him a coward avoiding a fight. His body was betraying him. Knees cracked under the pressure of training that was perhaps too Spartan. But the biggest demon wasn't the opponents. It was the scale. Cutting down to lightweight was not a routine for Khabib, it was medieval torture. Before UFC 209, his liver shut down. He was close to death. While other fighters talked about diets, he talked about survival. Imagine the agony. You are wrapped in towels, the last drop of water escaping your body, blood turning into thick syrup, your brain fogging over, lips cracking, and you know that if you give up, you disappoint your father. You disappoint all of Dagestan. In those moments, in the silence of saunas and sterile hospital rooms, his unbreakable will was forged. He had to learn that the toughest opponent isn't the one in the other corner of the cage. The toughest opponent is the one staring back at you in the mirror in the morning with dark circles under his eyes. And then there was one more shadow. A shadow that chased him for years and never disappeared. Tony Ferguson, El Kooky. The only man crazy and unorthodox enough to stand against the eagle in his prime. 5 times they signed the contract. 5 times the world rejoiced. And 5 times a higher principle intervened. Injuries, bizarre trips, a global pandemic. It is the greatest unsolved mystery in MMA history. A clash of two titans with 12-fight win streaks that never happened. The fight we all deserved, but fate denied us. Behind every great man stands the shadow of another. In Khabib's case, it was a shadow that protected him from the sun. Abdulmanap. Their relationship wasn't just father and son. It was a symbiosis. Khabib was the extension of his father's vision. The father was the brain, the strategist, the moral compass. Khabib was the sword. The father planned, the son executed. Father's plan wasn't just a phrase, it was dogma. When Abdulmanap died from complications related to COVID, something in Khabib died too. The world saw a champion weeping in the center of the octagon after his final fight with Justin Gaethje. These were not tears of relief after a win. They were the tears of an orphaned child. Without his father in the corner, fighting lost its meaning for him. Suddenly, it was just a job, and he didn't want to do that job anymore. In private, when the spotlights fade, Khabib is not an Instagram celebrity. He is a deeply religious Muslim seeking peace. He isn't an extrovert who needs to feed his ego with likes. He is a man who prefers sitting on the carpet with his brothers, Islam, Zubaira, Abu Bakr, drinking tea and reminiscing about the old days when they had nothing but each other. Loyalty is law to him. Those who stood with him in the mud eat with him at the royal table. Betrayal is not forgiven. Loyalty is rewarded with a brotherhood for life. Where is the eagle today? He left at the absolute peak, 29-0. No sad endings, no desperate comebacks for money, as we see with so many legends who don't know when to walk away. Anderson Silva, Fedor, even Ali. They all stayed too long. Khabib did not. He kept the word he gave his mother. No more without father. Today, he stands on the other side of the fence. His voice rings out in the corner, instructing a new generation of killers from Dagestan. He has become Coach Khabib. And the terrifying thing is, in this role, he might be even more intense than as a fighter. He demands perfection. His standards haven't lowered. They have just been transferred to others. The community views him with a mix of immense respect and nostalgia. Some still hope for 30-0, for that mythical last dance. But looking at his face, which has gained a few pounds of contentment and peace, it is clear the warrior within him has found peace. He is no longer fighting for survival. Now, he is building an empire. His legacy lives on in Islam Makhachev, in Usman, in an entire generation for whom he opened doors that were previously locked. So, what remains after him when the dust finally settles? It won't just be numbers on Wikipedia. It will be a paradigm shift. Khabib Nurmagomedov changed the way we understand combat. He showed that wrestling and grappling aren't boring. They are the art of total control. That you can defeat an opponent without causing permanent brain damage, simply by taking away their will and their oxygen. His story is proof of the power of faith and discipline. It is a reminder that in an age that celebrates superficiality, instant fame, and noise, quiet hard work can still triumph. He is not a typical Western-style hero. He is raw, he is conservative, he is uncompromising. But that is precisely why he is so fascinating. His legacy isn't about being the best striker or the best grappler. His legacy is that he was unsolvable. He was a riddle to which no one found the answer. He was a glitch in the MMA matrix that could not be patched. They say eagles don't fly in flocks, they fly alone. Khabib Nurmagomedov ascended to heights where the air becomes thin and where most of us cannot breathe. He left behind a world trying to comprehend his dominance and returned to where he belongs, to the mountains, to the silence, to the memory of his father. At the beginning, we asked, what is the price of perfection? Today, we know the answer. The price for becoming an invincible symbol was losing the right to be an ordinary human. He had to sacrifice his youth, his health, and ultimately, even time with the one who dreamed that dream with him. But looking at his calm face today, we know he paid that price willingly. The eagle left the cage not because he had to, but because there was nothing left to prove. Kings come and go, belts change owners. But legends, Legends become part of the ground we walk on. Freedom. That is the true victory. And Khabib Nurmagomedov is finally free. And if you watched the video this far, definitely don't forget to smash that subscribe button and check out the story of another fascinating individual.